Hello. This week we're learning Parsha Beshalach. At the age of 81, Moses led Jews through the whole exodus from Egypt. So the year is 2449, which is 3332 years ago. And Jews obviously left Egypt, as we discussed in the previous Parsha Bo. Soon after allowing the children of Israel to depart from Egypt, Pharaoh decides that he didn't make a good decision, and he decides to chase after them to force them to return. And the Israelites find themselves trapped between the Pharaoh's army, which is huge and very powerful, and the Red Sea. God tells Moses to raise his staff over the water, and the sea splits to allow the Israelites to pass through. And then when they pass through the bottom of the sea, with the water being vertical, basically two walls of water on both sides, then as per God's order, Moses raises his staff again and closes the water down, lets the water down, and it closes down over the pursuing Egyptians. Moses and the children of Israel sing a song of praise and gratitude to God. Now they are in the desert, and the people suffer thirst and hunger, and they are repeatedly complaining to Moses and Aaron about their discomfort and all the problems. God miraculously sweetens the bitter waters of Marah, and later he gets Moses to bring water out from the rock by striking it with his staff. Then Hashem brings over manna to rain down on them from heavens before dawn each morning, and the quails appear in the Israelite camp each evening. The children of Israel are instructed to gather double portion of manna on Friday, as none will be descending on Shabbat, because God decreed that Shabbat is the day of rest. Some disobey and go to gather manna even on the seventh day and find nothing. So they miserably failed the very first simple test. God gave an order and they didn't follow it. And then we learned that in Rephidim, the people were attacked by Amalekites, who were defeated by Moses' prayers and the army raised by Joshua and commanded by Joshua. And this is the content of the whole Parsha. Now, it's very interesting what is going on here. And as in every Parsha, we need to look into the depths of it in order to learn what is it Hashem trying to tell us through Torah. So God did not lead the Israelites from Egypt via the road to the land of the Philistines because it was near. It was the shortest route through the land of Philistines. And it would have been very easy for the people to return back to Egypt because the road was absolutely easy and straight. And God said, and this is what Torah says black and white, the people may have a change of heart when they see the inhabitants of the land of Israel to go to war against them, and they will return to Egypt. So God did not want the people to return back to Egypt. That's what we learn here. He didn't want. So instead, God led the people via the desert road toward the other side of the Sea of Reeds. In addition, Rabbi Sachs tells us in his book, Judaism's Life-Changing Ideas. It's one of his last books. In Parsha Beshalach, he tells us that there were Egyptian forts on various points along the sea route to Canaan, which is the shortest road. But the Israelites psychologically were not ready yet to battle the Egyptians. And that's why God decided to go the other way. All of this is very confusing. To understand why I'm saying that it's confusing, let's look at the facts here. First, Torah says that God hardened the Pharaoh's heart, leading him to pursue the Israelites with a force of 600 chariots. Hold on. Why did God cause Pharaoh to pursue the Israelites if he didn't want the Jews to think of going back? They were a bunch of demoralized slaves, and he could make their journey as easy as possible. So what's the story here? One action of Hashem by hardening the Pharaoh's heart is contradicting his decision to take the Jews the long way so that they cannot return. So they will not be able to return? Maybe. Let's look further. The Israelites face a war after all of this with Amalekites immediately after they crossed the Red Sea. So we're talking a few days. And they acted without any fear, and inspired by Moses and with upraised arms, they won. They beaten the Amalekites completely. So the roundabout route failed anyway. Overall, let's look at it, because it did not prevent Israelites' negative response to the spies report later on, resulting in 40 years of wandering in the desert. So, looking at all of this, on the surface, it looks like that the roundabout route by which God led the Israelites was not to prevent them wanting to return, but rather to prevent them from being able to return. And that leads me to think that all of this was planned by Hashem. He knew exactly every step of the whole story. The same as he knew that Adam and Eve will sin, that Cain will kill Abel. He knew everything what will happen later on. And it was part of his plan. And I have got I think I have got some proofs of that as well. But nevertheless, let's return back to this parsha. So, God didn't want them to be even able to return. And leading them miraculously through the Red Sea was like Caesar crossing the Rubicon, where his armies knew they cannot cross back. Or like Cortez, later on, hundreds of years later, burning his boats before the conquest of Aztecs in Americas. He deliberately burned his ships, his boats, so that his soldiers will know there is no way back. They must fight for their life. And they did, and they won. It was necessary in order to burn the bridges with Egypt and slavery, so to speak, to make the retreat back impossible. And this is why Hashem did that and took them the long way. More than that, the miracle of the parting sea has inspired the people, since they saw that God is with them. If he would take them the short way, there would be no need to part the sea. There would be no miracles. While walking through the bottom of the sea with walls of water on both sides, the Israelites themselves started changing from the deprived slaves to the people of Israel, because they started to realize, hey, look, God is with us. We are somebody. From the petrified crowd, 100% reliant on God's help just before the parting of the sea. By going through that process, they became suddenly a military force capable to defeat the Amalek, as I just said a few seconds ago. With overall inspiring actions of their leaders, Joshua, of course, he was the physical leadership, and Moses, standing on top of the hill, he was the spiritual leadership, holding his hands up and motivating the warriors to hold their heads up, seeing him there, and fight. Because if a man holds his head down, he is depressed. And when he holds his head up, he is ready to fight. What we learn here, that almost from the very dawn of history as a nation, Jews were forced to learn that lasting achievement takes time, effort, and perseverance, the long road. You can never get there by the shortest road. Greatness in many fields takes effort, time, and practice. The history of many nations, born particularly after World War II, the end of colonialism in Africa, and the relatively recent attempts on democracy in Iraq or Libya, and more, they clearly show that you cannot create democracy overnight by United Nations decree or achieve freedom by Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It's impossible. It takes time, effort, and big change. People who try to get rich fast often discover that their wealth, which appeared overnight, disappears the next day. Very frequently, it's the story of particularly lotto winners. Read, you will find on the internet thousands of them. Today's world is full of books, videos, and training programs promising fast track on almost everything. The weight loss programs, the riches, success, and how to become rich over, very quickly, and to become famous, and everything under the sun. By the route God led the Jews on when they left Egypt, we learn that in life there are no shortcuts and there are no fast tracks. It is better at the very outset to understand that the road is long, the work is hard, and there will be many setbacks and wrong roads, maybe, the wrong turns, mistakes. One will need grit, resilience, stamina, and persistence in order to succeed. But the journey of life is exhilarating, and there is no other way. It's exciting, it's something which you're trying to build and achieve. Lasting achievement takes time. You can never get there by the shortest road. The harder it gets, the stronger you become. But think of the sense of achievement, pleasure one gets when he or she can say, I have done it. I have done it with my effort and God's help. Shabbat Shalom.
למען החי ורעי